Good morning and welcome to the Lakers Lowdown. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today on the show, well, we know who the Lakers are playing in the Western Conference Finals. We know who they'll face if they get through the Western Conference Finals. We still have to get together and try to, contextualize what we just saw over the weekend. It has been a solid 24 hours since you guys last heard from me here on this pod. Hope everybody celebrated that win Saturday night safely. But yeah, let's get over it. No, not get over it. I don't ever want to get over that. Let's go over it. So let's start with the series that we just watched the Lakers win. Obviously, Raj and I recorded right after that game. My apologies for the audio quality in that episode, as I did everything I could to set up that room in a way that would be conducive to recording an episode while on vacation. My genius, being what it is, did not set the StreamYard setting to be recording through my mic, and I did not notice until it was too late, and I could not edit that back. So apologies for that. But anyway, Raj and I talked and really wanted to focus on the moment, right? Enjoying the fact that the Lakers had just won their second series, enjoying the fact that the Lakers potentially just ended the Golden State Warriors dynasty, enjoying the fact that, quite frankly, the Lakers overcame a team that was favored heading into that series, and I think pretty widely picked to beat the Lakers in that series. So yeah, that was I wanted to talk to Raj about that game, and I wanted to talk to him about what we just saw from a basketball perspective. But I also wanted to, in that moment, more just kind of celebrate the moment and how cool it was that, yeah, we didn't see that coming. Nobody saw that coming. And that is what we did. In the hours since, right, I wrote for Substack about what that might mean organizationally speaking for the Lakers and what it might mean for the NBA moving forward, as it seems like, if we're just operating off of what we saw at the deadline, that the Lakers have started to figure out the minutia of doing this, not just getting stars, but maximizing them and understanding what identity is going to help you maximize those stars. But on top of that, understanding what it's going to take, what kind of attention to detail that you need to stick with in order to make all of that happen. It's kind of like Happy Gilmore, right? And Happy gets that big hockey stick putter. He makes a putt. He's like, uh-oh, Happy learned how to putt. I probably just botched that line. Whatever. The Lakers essentially sent a message. Yeah, we went out and got guys who LeBron and AD can elevate, but also can turn around and help make LeBron and AD better versions of themselves. That sounds great. That let's keep doing more of that. And yeah, the notion of the Lakers being a destination that helps a player off of the court and then also can put that player in a better position on the court, that is going to mean something. So that's what I wrote about, on Substack. So you combine enjoying the moment with looking ahead organizationally. And the big thing that we I don't think have spent much time on here in the, again, now by the time you guys are listening to this, 48 hours or so after that game, what did the Lakers do to make that possible? Raj and I spent some time on it, and we celebrated some of the guys individually. But, I keep coming back to the fact that the Lakers won a super physical series against Memphis, right? A real dogfight, and did so going away. Now, obviously, that would have been more of a dogfight. It would have been more physical if Steven Adams was there, if Brandon Clark was available. And that is worth noting for the context of that series. But the Lakers turn around and go from that to keeping up, matching up with and keeping up with the Warriors long enough to go back to that identity, of punishing inside and wearing teams down. And yeah, that was incredible to watch the Lakers, find guys who can keep up in that series, but then also because of the cheat codes that are LeBron and AD, go back to well, Clay's guarding me. All right, LeBron's going to stick him in the basket. Wiggins is trying to guard me for the entirety of the time he's on the court with me. Okay, cool. I'll do the same thing. AD realized, oh yeah, that's right. I'm like 5 to 6 inches taller than Draymond Green. I should maybe take advantage of that. And then he did. And on top of that, not only did he take advantage of that in terms of offense, but obviously defensively, what the Lakers did to really make the Warriors uncomfortable. The play that I will never, ever, ever forget from that series, and especially Game 6, was Steph is driving down the middle of the paint, gets by his guy, has really nobody to beat to the basket. AD is kind of like just standing there, and AD's presence leads to Steph almost airballing a layup. One of the greatest finishers at the basket, obviously one of the greatest shooters of all time, almost airballed a layup. You don't see that happen very often, and it was all because AD has just that kind of presence. So that combination of it's sometimes speed, but for the most part, physicality, length, athleticism, that combination of what the Lakers were able to do is going to be huge in this next series. So looking back on just in terms of a macro sense, in terms of basketball, what the Lakers did to win that series was just be flexible. Understand the moment, understand what the moment is calling for, and have the pieces to be able to fix those problems whenever they came up. And Warriors fans have spent most of the last couple days looking at, man, if only Wiseman was traded earlier when he had more value and they could get more than just Gary Payton II and a broken version of Gary Payton II. What if they don't let Gary Payton II get away in the first place and Wiseman could have been used to add to that championship roster? Same goes for Jonathan Kuminga and, even Moses Moody, who, I think played pretty well over the course of the series. But, if you trade both of those guys and say a pick, you're probably getting back a pretty good player who could really help right then, right now. And they lost Otto Porter Jr., who, spent most of this year hurt, but still was pivotal to their title run. And that kind of hubris that goes into, well, we have Steph, we have Clay. Clay's going to be better next year. Still have Draymond. We can let some of these pieces on the peripheries go because they're going to cost more money, or they might get in the way of the development of this 2 timeline approach that the Warriors are taking. And clearly that backfired, right? It didn't work. Warrior seasons ended. Steve Kerr said so. Steph Curry said so. Clay and Draymond had hinted at that as well. So the Warriors basically spent a lot of time as far as like, what did we do wrong? What did the Warriors do wrong that led to them losing this series? But not necessarily talking much about what the Lakers have done to win the series. And even I thought that the Warriors, and look, objectively speaking, according to Vegas, the Warriors were favorites going into this thing. So just based on that, yeah, there are some things that the Warriors did to lose it. But I also think that potentially ignores what the Lakers did to win it. And let's get into some of those things. So first and foremost, when you're talking about what the Lakers did to win that series, it is going to start and end with Anthony Davis on defense and the cheat code that he is, right? The fact that somebody can be as big as he is, as mobile as he is, and therefore allow you to go big or small with much of the same groups and match up with teams going big or small with much of your own personnel. And force, by the way, teams to try to go big, to match up with you or go small to keep up with you. So AD is really just kind of the key to what the Lakers were able to do in that series, as he was in the first series. And by the way, as he will be in this next series. But, when you talk about how the Lakers really, especially like Game 6, a game that the Warriors were desperate to win, backs up against the wall, potentially dynasty on the line, right? They scored, 101 points? And there was a lot of garbage time in there too. So the Lakers were able to shut off the Warriors' water by being able to, throw pitch after pitch after pitch, or I think a better analogy is punch after punch after punch, and counterpunch after counterpunch after counterpunch. And they were able to move all over the ring. And the Warriors, I don't think, there were some stretches where they started to maybe look a little comfortable, and the Lakers threw another punch, or they ducked one of the Warriors' punches and were able to counter it, or they were able to block it, whatever. The Lakers throughout that series defensively never threw the same punch twice, and if they did, it was when it was really time to spam a certain thing. But they presented so many different looks over the course of the series that, look, the series started with Jared Vanderbilt on Steph, right? Then it was Austin Reeves on Steph, and then it was, AD on Gary Payton II when he started the series on Kevon Looney, and Looney at various points was not playable, and then he was, right? So, like, the Lakers just kept on, whenever the Warriors threw their counter, the Lakers found some way to counter that. And by the end of the series, it really spoke to me that, Kerr went right back to Kevon Looney because he had tried to do the things that were kind of out of the box or out of left field and figured out they weren't having the impact that they needed to have. So, when I say that the Lakers, shut off their water defensively, that all kind of comes back to, and it always is going to come back to, Anthony Davis. And again, in this next series, the one advantage that the Lakers have over Jokic, or against Jokic, over teams that have already lost to him, right, is that AD can guard Jokic in single coverage and therefore kind of minimize some of what Jokic can do as a passer. You might be able to say that with Rudy Gobert, but then the thing is with AD is he can turn around on the other side of the court and get Jokic into foul trouble. That's never going to happen with Nikola Jokic or with Rudy Gobert, and that for damn sure isn't going to happen. In the series we just saw where DeAndre Ayton is somehow stiffer at times than Rudy Gobert, and his backup is Bismack Biyombo. So. Yeah, I know Nuggets fans are feeling pretty confident, and for good reason. They're a very good team. They've been the best team in the Western Conference over the course of the year, and especially whenever they have tried to look like the best team in the Western Conference. But when you're looking at what Anthony Davis did in the first series, where he shut off the paint for somebody as explosive in the paint as Ja Morant, that changed the outcome and the outlook of that series. And then, against Golden State, where their offense isn't as predicated, anywhere near as predicated as Memphis's offense might be in getting into the paint and either kicking it out or the floater game or finishing at the rim or getting guys into foul trouble. AD was still able to impact that series defensively because he's just like that special a player when he's healthy and engaged. So, when we talk about like what the Lakers did right, especially defensively, it was all AD. Offensively, that gets a little trickier, right? Because there were in Game 6, it was a classic LeBron elimination game, especially with the Lakers. That was all predicated on Wiggins isn't strong enough. Klay Thompson for damn sure isn't strong enough. Moses Moody isn't strong enough to stop LeBron from getting into the paint and getting to the rim. And, they could have maybe moved Draymond onto LeBron, but guess what that means? It means those same people that I just mentioned, they're going to be dealing with a bigger person in Anthony Davis. So, yeah, there was no, just like I said going into the Memphis series, if the Lakers were going to be successful going big, there was no counter from either of those last two teams. There is, by the way, a counter, or the Nuggets can match up with that size that the Lakers have in better ways than the Warriors and Grizzlies did. But I think same thing here offensively. If you're looking ahead, it is going to be, who controls the paint, who maintains a steady flow of free throws by getting into the paint, and then occasionally when the time calls for it, whose role players knock down open shots. And basketball is kind of a simple sport, maddeningly simple at times. And yeah, this series, this one coming up here between the Lakers and Nuggets, and there's going to be plenty of time. Later today, I'm going to be previewing it with somebody who I'm sure you guys are excited to hear from, a previous friend of the show. Over the course of the week, I'm going to be previewing it with other friends of the show, and all of that. But yeah, the more that I look at the series, the simpler it gets, and that can be exciting, but it can also be terrifying, because if like a couple key factors don't go in your way here, that's the series. Another quick thing that I'm actually really looking forward to in this series is this notion that the Lakers can go back to more steadily an identity that I think their roster is more built towards, with the occasional sprinkling in of small ball to make Denver feel uncomfortable in some spots. But, Rui can be more of a factor in this series. Vanderbilt can be more of a factor in this series. I think Lonnie is still going to be a somebody who, especially having seen what he was capable in the last series, I think we'll see some of Lonnie. I think Troy Brown will get another opportunity here. But really, like, the Lakers can go super big, super physical against Denver in ways that they couldn't against Memphis, and they couldn't against Golden State. And that's something that, more Rui with the way that he has played. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if Rui has maintained his shooting rhythm despite a diminished role. You always kind of worry about that. But then, I think importantly here for the Lakers is just continuing to wear down the Nuggets in ways that the Lakers' kind of collective size will allow them to. And like the major difference, like a quick tangent here, a major difference between the Lakers and the Kings in their success rate against the Warriors was the Kings, they could match up with them step for step when it comes to speed, right? They were just as small, just as quick, just as skilled, right? And it made for some incredibly entertaining games. But over the course of the series, like, Steph never looked very tired. And you look at what the Lakers were forcing Steph to do because they were bigger all over the court than Sacramento. There was a Steph hit a off the dribble three, and it was the kind of three that like kind of shuts up the crowd a little bit, and it could get him going. It was the kind of thing that, like, if he responded to it a certain way, maybe he kind of rallies the troops. But instead, Steph knocks down the shot. The camera pans over to him, and he is just like clearly exhausted, right? And that stood out to me. On top of the other stuff that was going on over the course of that series, like Klay Thompson, his arc was inconsistent on his shot in a way that it's pretty clear that a shooter is trying to find his stroke. That was really fascinating to watch. But the Lakers wore down Steph over the course of that series. And, in this one, now the Lakers don't have a Dwight in the way that they did in the bubble against Jokic. And we did see Dwight kind of bother Jokic. Jokic is a significantly better player now than he was back when that was happening. But, the Lakers are going to have to find a way to wear down Jokic, and I think that's going to be with AD, and I think that's also going to be with like LeBron, trying to get downhill and challenging Jokic at the rim. It's going to come with guards, getting Jokic in space and trying to attack him that way, either one-on-one in that space with the speed advantage, or by just, making pocket passes and forcing Jokic to try to like rotate back over and stuff like that. So, one major key here on top of some other stuff, and there's plenty of time to talk about other stuff, but one major key is if the Lakers are going to be just as successful in wearing down the Nuggets in this series as they were at wearing down the Warriors in the last one. And the Nuggets, collectively, the Nuggets are significantly bigger than the Warriors were. So they'll be able to kind of meet force with more force there, whereas the Warriors were trying to counter with speed and with skill and with shooting and with spacing. So, yeah, this is going to be kind of that knockdown, drag out rock fight, I think. And the Lakers are equipped for it, but so are the Nuggets. On a more kind of macro level here, though, I do think that this feels fairly similarly going in as I felt going into the Warriors series, where the Nuggets have been the better team all year. The Lakers certainly have a higher ceiling than we thought, obviously. Like, nobody saw this run coming, and more on that notion of like that surprise here in a second. But I do think, though, that the Warriors are favored. I think it's like plus, or the Lakers are. Last I checked, it was like minus 140 for the Nuggets and maybe like plus 185 or so for the Lakers. More time to kind of get to that in whenever I can. But yeah, it is okay. So it's actually gone down a little bit, but yeah, minus 145 for the Nuggets, plus 125 here for the Lakers. So almost a coin flip, I guess, for the Lakers to win the series. And it is a very close matchup. Lakers are super public, and the fact that we've seen the Lakers have the amounts of success that they have will obviously influence some of the betting there. So I think Vegas is making up for some of that. But yeah, I think I think it's really going to be kind of a similar script that the Lakers have to follow here, where Game 1 is really going to matter. Winning Game 1, being able to kind of take a deep breath in Game 2, taking care of business in Games 3 and 4, probably dropping Game 5, and then winning Game 6. That feels like kind of the pathway here that the Lakers have to take. But it also wouldn't surprise me if this thing goes to 7. I think my official pick is probably Lakers in 6, but I could absolutely see this thing going to 7, where Game 7 on the road is pretty brutal, and all of these games are going to be, game day off, every other day. So I think, both of these teams are going to be exhausted by the end of it. And yeah, it's just going to be a matter of taking advantage of those moments when those opportunities present themselves. And I really think that, Game 1, it's not the same opportunity as it was against the Warriors, as the Nuggets have an extra day of rest compared to the Lakers. Whereas the Warriors were at a rest disadvantage because they messed around in their own Game 6. But look, as soon as the Lakers kind of go on a bit of a run, now if the Nuggets come out hot, that building is going to be nuts. The Lakers have historically traveled well to Denver, and they've minimized that crowd to a certain extent. But that's also a fan base that's looking at a team that I think has the best chance that they have ever had organizationally to win a championship. So that building could be rocking. But as soon as the Lakers go on a bit of a run here, or if they withstand that initial adrenaline punch that in the same way that they did in Game 1 against the Warriors, the longer that they're close, the more tense that crowd is going to get, and the more tense some of those role players are going to feel. And now there is plenty of experience there. Like KCP won a championship with the Lakers. He's going to be ready for what the Lakers bring in this series. Aaron Gordon has been phenomenal as kind of like a wing stopper, and I think he has enough experience to be able to handle it. But Michael Porter Jr. will kind of float in and out of series or in and out of games, depending on what the situation is. And if the Lakers can make him uncomfortable and make him feel a little tight, that's I think, swing factor here. I think the most important thing here is the Jokic and AD matchup. It has to be close, and if AD can win that matchup, the Lakers can win the series. But there are also X factors here, right? If D'Angelo Russell is able to be playable despite being across from Jamal Murray, that would feel like a big win here for the Lakers. If the Lakers' kind of stream of guards can collectively be better than Jamal Murray, that would be a pretty big win. Just like the flip side would be true going the other way. But Michael Porter Jr., like, not only is he one of the bigger X factors, obviously, in the series, but I would go so far as to say, like, he's one of the bigger X factors in the league, because when he is playing well, when he's knocking down shots, when he's shooting consistently and confidently, and when he's defending, he has a real case to make as like a top 3 to 5 3-and-D wing in the league. And, wing play to me always winds up kind of defining, not always, but a lot of times kind of defines to me the direction that some of these series go. And if MPJ is that kind of special X factor, yeah, Denver's really difficult to guard and really difficult to keep up with in terms of scoring. So, but still, like, if the Lakers in Game 1 can hang tight, withstand that first barrage that they're going to get from Denver as that crowd shows up and is ready to go right from the get, if they're able to withstand that and hang tight for most of the game, I do think that they'll have a pretty good chance at stealing Game 1, probably lose Game 2, and then it's a matter of just kind of staying on schedule. So we'll see if the Lakers are able to do that. All right, let's get to your questions. So, again, best way to get a topic covered on the show, and apologies that I didn't do it last week with everything kind of going on, and with my voice sounding the way that it did and not holding up. Like, I'm able to do this on video. I could not have done it on video last week, these lowdowns. So I'm going to try to edit this and put this up on the YouTube page, which, again, youtube.com/@LakersLounge is where you can find that. But these lowdowns hopefully are going to be housed there as well. Now that I have a voice to be able to answer these questions, I'm going to get to them. So the first question here comes from 42 Worthy, adding this again in question form: since you've relapsed into your old ways, they stop being funny the second time your co-hosts sit in uncomfortable silence, waiting for their cue to force a mercy laugh at the end of your unbearably long sound drops. Trim the sound drops, use them sparingly, or just cut them all out altogether, please. So here's the thing about sound drops. One, I like that they kind of break up the monotony of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and your point, my point, your point, my point. Think of it as like I watched the Phoenix Suns, right? And the Phoenix Suns were maddening because it was always Kevin's turn, Devin's turn, Kevin's turn, Devin's turn, Kevin's turn, Devin's turn. And you never really saw much of those guys operating together. And a sound drop, to me, is kind of like a pick and roll where both of those guys get to operate together. Where Raj and I, or Harrison and I, or my guest and I can laugh together for a quick second, and then again get back to the way that conversations normally go. I do limit them though. They can get to be quite a bit, unless it's like a long term episode long bit, in the same way that like the Leroy Jenkins clip was with Raj and me. I get that they can be kind of frustrating, and they are longer when you are adding them into this than they feel like when you're just kind of watching them on your computer. And I've been cognizant of that, but yeah, that's where that is coming from. And no, sorry, they are not going anywhere. They'll be used differently, but they are never going to be gone altogether. Next question here comes from Kinetic Groove. Have enjoyed listening to you, Anthony, and all the guests you have on your show. Keep up the incredible work. Thank you very much. Question: given how the Lakers started 2-10 and didn't get to 500 until late in the season, and here they are advancing to the second and now third round, given where they were, given they were given little chance to even make the playoffs, at the very least, what would be your definition of a successful season this year? This is interesting because, look, the Lakers famously say the only successful season that you could possibly have is a championship, right? But I think that lacks nuance. I think there's plenty of room for success that extend well beyond that, because success. Talk about success, but success is defined by expectations. What were your goals going into a season, and how many of those boxes did you check? A season comes to mind here. The year that the Lakers lost to the Boston Celtics in the championship, I think that would have been 2008, right? Because I think they won in 2009 and then they won in 2010. In 2008, they lost to the Boston Celtics in the finals, and if that's all you knew about that season, you would say, "Oh, yeah, that's a failure." The Celtics won a championship, and the Lakers did not, and the Celtics won it directly from the Lakers. No chance. That has to be a failure. And in the moment, like objectively, the Lakers did fail to win that championship, right? But when you consider the fact that that season started with a Kobe trade demand, we had no idea what Andrew Bynum was going to turn into. Pau Gasol was still a Memphis Grizzly, and Lamar Odom was still seen as this, like, sometimes there, mostly not there project that the Lakers, he was like the key return for Shaq, and was fairly underwhelming, right? So, like, the Lakers felt rudderless. Kobe hated everybody, wanted to be traded because the Lakers refused to trade Andrew Bynum for Jason Kidd. And then you had that infamous video in the parking lot of that mall. And yet, over the course of that series, first, you saw Bynum play well enough to convince Kobe to want to stick around. Then you have Bynum get hurt, and you think, well, fuck. Just when you're starting to feel good, Bynum's kneecap dislocates, and you think, well, season's screwed all over again. And Kobe's response to that was interesting because it was like kind of doubling down on, you know what, screw it, we're going to make this work. Then the trade deadline comes, the Lakers trade for Pau Gasol. Pau comes in, immediately fits like a glove next to Kobe, and Kobe says, why would I want to go anywhere? They just brought me this guy. The Lakers go from, again, a season that started as if you thought the Lakers were going to waste yet another prime Kobe season to, holy shit, these guys there's a lot to build on here. The Lakers were able to get to the finals in only year one of Pau being there. That does not happen very often. And lo and behold, they wind up building on that, right? They wind up winning the championship the very next year. And then they win the championship the following year after that against those same Boston Celtics. And that year, that first year, laid the groundwork for those couple of titles. So, was it a success in that the Lakers did not win a championship? No, not according to their own definition. But they, for damn sure, laid down the identity and the culture that was necessary to winning those championships, plural, in the following couple of seasons after that. This kind of feels like that, right? Where the beginning of the year, Russ was still a Laker, and Patrick Beverly was still a Laker. Kendrick Nunn was still a Laker. They had like 73 combo guards, and again, felt super rudderless. And you just saw it like, well, all right, shit. Like, we're doing this again. This is the direction that you want to take this thing. And yeah, and lo and behold, they do trade Russ for obviously D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley. They traded Kendrick Nunn for Rui Hachimura. I still kind of think they took a heat check by trading Patrick Beverly for Mo Bamba. But more importantly than even the combination of those moves, the Lakers developed an identity. They laid the groundwork for a culture that they can build on. And regardless of how either this series or the next series turns out, you feel like they can really build on this moving forward. And given their goals coming into this season, for me, their singular goal being trade Russell Westbrook for people who can help LeBron and AD win at the level that we think LeBron and AD can win at, that box is checked. Hey, what can Reeves build on the growth that we saw last year? That box is for damn sure checked. So, yeah, I would say that obviously, ideally, they win this championship, and it is just unmitigated success, objectively and arguably a success. But I also think, though, that the Lakers made enough progress this year, organizationally and in terms of basketball. They seem to have hired a pretty good coach in Darvin Ham, too, who is going to be a part of that culture and that identity here moving forward. The Lakers seem to have laid the groundwork that, depending on how this next offseason goes, depending on how training camp goes, they're going to start next year as either, favorites or close to favorites to win a championship. Again, depending on how these next couple series go. You would not have said that a few months ago, right? At one point, and I don't know if the odds have changed, but at one point the Lakers were they were either tied to be or were actually odds-on favorites to win the championship this year with the 4 teams remaining. Would not have seen that coming. So, yeah, I gotta say that, to me, given what they were setting out to do this year, this season is already a success. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lowdown podcast. Really fun episode here, and I appreciate you guys for answering or asking your questions in the iTunes mailbag. Again, leave a topic in the form of a 5-star review, and I promise I will get to it. Again, if you haven't checked it out already, the Substack article that I wrote is, I think, the most popular article I've written, other than the welcome article to Substack in the first place. You're going to want to check that out. I'm pretty optimistic, as you just heard, about the Lakers here moving forward. So check that out as well. Right after I'm done here, I am actually going to narrate my last 2 posts for Substack for paid subscribers. That is exclusive to the $8 a month subscribers that are willing to pay up there. So check that out. Again, like I said earlier, and I'm not going to give away who my guests are going to be for what should be obvious reasons at this point, but we have a loaded week ahead as we get ready for what is going to be a knockdown, drag-out war of a series that I cannot possibly wait for. So, until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin, saying have a good one.